Good morning, Dr. Orlando. Good morning. Great to hear your voice once again. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, can we confirm we can hear me clearly?
Loud
Thank
and
you very
clear.
much for being here, Everest. I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
All right. Okay. All right. Let me quickly share my screen so we have just an hour to run through this. Okay. Okay. Permit me.
Mr. Everest, we didn't get to introduce you. So everybody, please, Everest, if you can drop your LinkedIn profile in the chat room. Mr. Everest
Okay.
is a living legend. He's a live cybersecurity expert. This is what he does in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. And he comes highly is a highly recommended and respected expert. So if you're looking to become like some kind of global expert like him or like himself, so please listen attentively and get the best out of this session. So Everest, once again, if you don't mind, this is corporate social responsibility from you. We don't pay you for this, and thank you very much. So please you can drop your LinkedIn profile so that people can follow you in the chat room. Please go ahead, sir.
Right. Thank you very much. Yes, I would drop that. I would drop that just in a couple of seconds. I'll drop that now. Yeah. So can we see my screen? Is it visible? Damola, can you confirm
Yes,
that
I
my
can
screen is up?
I can see your screen. ISO 27,000. It just went off.
Oh, my bad. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'll drop my LinkedIn profile later.
All
Let's
right.
let's just
It's
make
back
the
on
most
now.
of yes, let's just make the most of the short time that we have. All right. So we'll be looking at ISO 27032, which is basically a guideline to cybersecurity. But because of time, we're not going to like go really in depth. We're just going to stay on the surface, so I can show you what a great what a great thing it is to be in cybersecurity space. So without further ado, let's just go into it. So here we'll be learning. We'll be by the end of this 1 hour, we would have been able to get even if it's an introductory knowledge into cybersecurity, what cybersecurity is about, what do we need to do in order to be safe online, what do we need to do to protect our organization, to protect our data, and all of that. So we'll be looking at, we'll also delve a little into some frameworks, some cybersecurity frameworks like NIST. At the same time, look at the industry best practice of of guidelines to cybersecurity, which is ISO 27032, in this short 1 hour. So let's just go into it. So first off, what do we understand as a cyberspace? Right. So anytime we hear cybersecurity, what exactly are we securing? So therefore, what we mean is that we are just trying to secure our digital assets. So some people might ask, what exactly is digital assets? Right. So whenever we say digital assets, we mean everything that relates to you or everything that is of importance to you that is online, right? Everything that is of importance to you that is online. Your communication is your digital asset. Your profile on the internet is your digital asset. Anything you have that communicates over the internet is a digital asset, because of, if someone just to relate it to an everyday life, if someone compromises or hijacks your Instagram account, you are definitely going to feel bad. You are not feeling bad because of, oh, it's Instagram, they've compromised my account. You're going to feel bad because you are going to lose data, and you are going to lose the connections that you've already made on the internet. So that brings us to, what exactly is cyberspace? What is this thing that we are securing? So we can say cyberspace is a virtual environment Yeah, because we do not see it. We do not see it, except you see zeros and ones, but we do not see it. So it's basically a virtual environment where communication happens. Pick up your phone, you call somebody on WhatsApp call, you've created a connection from your device to that person's device over the internet. Therefore, you've utilized cyberspace. So we're just going to like give a little insight into what it is. We've already said it's a virtual environment. We've said it's not a physical location. So now in cyberspace, what exactly is in there, right? So we've said it's a virtual environment. Check. It's not a physical location. Check. So what is inside there? Is it just void? No. When we say cyberspace, we mean you are in cyberspace because you are the one that initiates communication. Your organization is in cyberspace. Banks are in cyberspace. Um, anything then you can easily just go to Nigerian websites if there's anything like that to find information. Anything you can log on to on the internet to either for entertainment purposes, for information purpose, for communication purpose, for shopping purpose, whatever it is, you are interacting directly with cyberspace. So now we've talked about cyberspace. Now, how do we now secure our cyberspace, which comes in cybersecurity? So cybersecurity is basically just any practice. I like defining it like this: is any practice that you use that you can deploy to protect your digital assets. That's that's just a high level definition of what cybersecurity is. So if you are on a bus, and you want to log into your bank app, and you first of all you turn to check if anybody is looking over your shoulder, you just practice cybersecurity. So you just eliminated a vulnerability that is called shoulder stuffing. So you want to you are at the ATM, you want to punch in your code. First thing you do is to make sure that there is no the removable the place you slot in your card is not removable. So you just demonstrated cybersecurity because if you made sure that there were no schemas installed on that ATM to register your card details, right? So all of this everyday thing we do is an example of cybersecurity. Or you have a WhatsApp account, and WhatsApp tells you, okay, you need to deploy 2FA, that's multi authentication, right? So anytime someone wants to like log into your WhatsApp with your number, they'll send an OTP to your line. What's that? Cybersecurity. Everything is just all about securing what you have online. So this brings us to, what are we supposed to know? What's supposed to give us this assurance that our device or our information or whatever it is that we have online is safe? It's only safe when we are sure that we have been able to put together the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of this information in check. So, what exactly is confidentiality, right? In our day-to-day environment, for those of us that work in official environment, there are certain information that are not privy to you. Maybe because of your level, or you do not need that information, or the information is critical for whatever reason it might be. So that is just confidentiality, right? Making sure that people that do not have access or do not have authority to view that particular asset, people that don't have that authority to view it would not be able to get their hands on it. That's just what confidentiality is. Then integrity. Integrity is just making sure that that particular asset is complete. It's complete. It's has not been tampered with. It's the way it came from the sender, is the way it was delivered to the receiver. That's just integrity. So how does that concern you as a person? When you send a message, you want to make sure that the WhatsApp message you sent is what the person that is on the other end is receiving. It's not that you're sending something and it gets scrambled and the receiver receives a different thing. So that's integrity. Then we have availability. Availability is making sure that whatever data you need to do whatever it is that you want is made available to you online. Maybe you are researching about maybe AI, you want to do whatever. Then you type something on Google or whatever search engine that you use, and you now see that everything is locked. You cannot read anything, or everything has an account. There is no free stuff. Then you now see that at that particular moment, the availability of that digital information is lacking, right? So what does that leave you? It leaves you with with nothing, because you cannot do whatever that it is that you want to do at that time of you looking through that blog or whatever. All right. So what exactly does cybersecurity involve? Now let's look at it from the technical side, right? So whenever we say, oh, our organization is secured in terms of cybersecurity, we mean that our network has firewall installed on them. We have the communication is encrypted with some sort of cryptography. Access control is implemented. So what do we mean by access control? How you log into your system. How you log into your system. Are you using passwords? Are you using biometrics? What exactly is the mode of access? Then you have you constantly run software updates, security patches, and whatever. Then making sure that the people that work in that organization, or you as a person, you are informed of cybersecurity best practices, right? So like the most annoying part of it is that you an organization will put all of this in check, and somebody will still go and click on a mail that said they've won an iPhone 16 when you did not bid for an iPhone 16. So they will still go and click on that link, that will now jeopardize every form of effort that whoever or the organization has put in place. So let's run. So still talking about overview of cybersecurity, we'll make sure that the cybersecurity providers will take care of the patch, the adversaries who are responsible for the cyber attacks. Economy would obviously provide the project's value of what it is that you're going to implement, and incident now going to test what exactly it is that you've been able to implement. So 27,032, it comes from a family of standard, which is 27,000 family. So 27,000 family, we have the requirements part of it, that is 27,006, that takes care of audit, 27,001 that takes care of ISMS, 27,000 and um 27,701, which is the privacy part of it. Then when we cascade down, we now get to general guides where we are able to find 27,032, which is a branch of 27,001. Right. So we are going to concentrate on 27,032. So I'm just going to skip all these parts because I just talked about the 27,000 family just because of our time. So let's just get into what we need to do. So basically, 27,032 is just a list of is more like a list of outcomes or guidelines of what you are supposed to do to make sure that whatever it is that you are implementing as an organization is actually working. So you are going to see things like multi-factor. You need to implement multi-factor authentication. You are going to see things that you need to have configuration. You need to have like a baseline configuration of your servers, your firewalls, your IPSs, and all of that. So all of that is included into 27,001. So now let's move a bit. Let's move into a different cybersecurity framework. So this is more like a body that you can implement yourself into your organization. It's free on it's free. Yeah, these kind of channels that they say free to air. So it's a free to air framework, but it is, as much as it's powerful, it is also free to implement. You don't need to like buy anything, don't need to like buy any materials. You just need to read through and understand what it's talking about. So let's dive in. So NIST cybersecurity framework is actually brought to us by NIST, right? So most of us might not have heard of NIST. So is just an institute that makes sure that they produce guidance and best practices for any sort of digital processes. So they have cybersecurity, have just go and look through at your spare time, but let's concentrate on cybersecurity for now. So what exactly is NIST cybersecurity framework? So the cybersecurity framework is a framework, right, that is implemented to integrate security processes into any organization. So it is big enough to contain any organization processes, right? So this was made possible in order for us to implement information security and cybersecurity risk management into our processes. So now this brings benefits like, it's making sure that we have enhanced threat awareness. So when we say threats, right, all right, let me cut back a bit. When we talk about cybersecurity, we'll talk about three main things, right? We talk about vulnerabilities. What exactly is a vulnerability? When we say something is vulnerable, that means what we mean is there is a loophole, or there is a weakness, or there is something that is not working just right in that particular process. Then when we say threat, threat is just saying that there are things that can act on those loopholes to cause harm. It's just like when your immune system is down, right? When your immune system is down, then simple code gives you cough. So code now is now going to serve as threat. Then you now having cough is now resulting to what? A risk. So a risk is just the endpoint of a threat acting on a vulnerability. That's just it. So whenever you hear vulnerability plus vulnerability, threat, and risks, so it will not sound confusing. So we said here that NIST offers numerous advantages such as threat awareness. So you need to be aware of the kind of threats that can act on any vulnerability of the assets that you are putting online. Risk management, you need to be able to manage your risks, know the type of risks you can take, the type of risks you cannot take, the kind of risks that will bankrupt you, the kind of risks that you can transfer to another organization to manage. Just as a person, you live somewhere, right? You live somewhere. There are types of risks that you know that you cannot take. Just like you coming back to your house and you see that your house is flooded. That's the kind of risk you cannot afford, because of you definitely would have to look for another place to sleep. So you need to like understand your level of risk tolerance, right? You need to know what you can take and what you can't take. And it also helps us to enhance threat response, incident response rather. So this is when something happens to you, you need to know how exactly you are supposed to respond in order for that particular incident not to escalate into something bigger. So that is the main thing that needs cybersecurity brings to us. So if you look at it, if you look at the framework, you see some tenants we can latch onto. So let's take a look at those things. So the tenants I was telling you about is that this framework is divided into three major parts. So we have the core, have the framework core, we have the implementation tiers, and we now have what we call the profiles, right? So what exactly is the core? The core is where you will see the activities or the outcomes or the references that we need in order to implement cybersecurity properly, right? So this core is further divided into five functions, right? So we have a core, then we have five functions that make up the core, right? So in that five function, we'll take a look at that further down the line. Those five functions are now further divided into 22 categories. So now these 22 categories are more, you look at them as group of what? Cybersecurity outcomes. These are things that you are supposed to see when you've implemented that particular when you've implemented properly the framework. Then these categories are further divided into 98 subcategories, which are now the security controls that you need to implement in order to get the cybersecurity outcomes. So that's for the core. Then the implementation tiers are just the level of maturity, right? You know that it's not everybody that just as life is, it's not all the risks that comes to you that you can handle, but sometimes someone can handle more risk than you, right? So the person in the risk maturity, the person is a bit higher than you. Same thing applies here. So their level of sophistication, right? So we have the initial level, we have or the ad hoc level, you have the managed level, the um, um, optimized level, something like that. So they are level by level of sophistications that you can be as an organization or even as a person, right? Then profiles are basically gap assessments. This is where you are and this is where you want to be, right? So the subcategories and the categories will serve as your target state. That's what you want to be. Then when you do your assessment, you as a person, thank God now we have some technologies that help us do security assessments of our profiles online. Like if you have a Google account, at some point you can go to your Google settings and do a security check on the accounts that your Google account is signed in on, the platform that your Google account is signed in on, and you'll be able to see how many of your how many of these platforms are at risk and how many of them are good to go. So that's your assessment at that particular point. So you can call it as is. Then where you want to go will now be your target state. So basically, the NIST we are looking at right now is the NIST 2.0, right? It's the NIST 2.0. So we used to have 1.1, which was centered just around US critical assets, right? Infrastructure. But when people started adopting this framework, people outside of the US started adopting this framework, they decided to like, okay, since it was very streamlined, a lot of security controls were not really relative to what we have in other part of the world. So they went back, they reviewed it, and here we are with the 2.0. So what's the major difference in the 2.0? The major difference is now that we have more core than we used to have before. So let's take a look at the cores. So looking at the cores, we have the govern, right? So when we talk about government, we are talking about having a general policy, right? Because just like you as a person, you need to like have a principle that guides what you can do and what you can't do, what like how you can do stuff and where you can be at a particular place at a particular time and where you are not supposed to be at a particular time. So that's your governing principle, right? So for those of us that work in organizations, official organizations, we have policies, procedures, all of those fall under govern function. Then we have identity, right? So this identity mostly revolves around how exactly are you supposed to identify a threat? How exactly are you supposed to identify people that work in that organization? What's like things that are around how you are supposed to know when stuff is happening. Then protect talks about putting things in place, putting facilities in place, putting stuff in place to make sure that at the end of the day, after you've identified these things, you're able to protect your assets from these threats. Then detect. When we say detect, we are just trying to say, okay, after we've protected our assets, right, there could still be a possibility of an attack. So when this attack finally slips through our net of protection, how are we able to find it? So that's where detect comes in. So this is where your IPS comes in. This is where all of those intrusion detection devices comes in. Then we now talk about respond. This is your incident response. How exactly are we supposed to respond after we've detected a threat? How do we respond? How do we make sure that the what we've detected does not escalate to a point that we can not longer manage it? Then recover. After all said and done, how do we go back to business as usual? So these are the six cause of ISO of NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0. So let's go on. So let's look at it from the NIST side now. So we've seen it from the human side. Let's now look at it from the NIST side. So govern talks about monitoring the organization's cybersecurity strategy, expectation, and policies, just as I said. So it's just direct how you should understand the organizational context. Now, when we say organizational context, what are we talking about? We're talking about how the organization should function, what are the things that can affect an organization, what are the regulation that, whether internal or external, that can affect an organization at the time being. So it looks at, government also looks at supply chain, supply chain risk management. It also looks at who is supposed to do what in an organization. That's the roles and responsibilities of individuals in the organization. Then identify. Identify is, just as we said, it works on laying the it works on developing the organization understanding of managing the risks that can affect systems, the people, the asset, whatever the organization is about. So you must make sure that you are able to identify where your assets are first of all. So that's where we are talking about, asset inventory. You must make sure you understand where your assets are, whether it's physical assets or not physical assets, not spiritual now, physical assets or not physical assets, making sure that you are able to identify where they are and the health of that particular asset. So we're just going to skip that. Then we'll go to protect. So protect is outlining the appropriate safeguard to make sure that your assets, wherever they are safe and they are able to withstand a cybersecurity event. Now, mind you, an event is different from an incident, right? An event is different from an incident. So an event is just deviation from norm, right? If something just happens that is not supposed to, that is a deviation from normality, right? So it might be bad, it might not be bad. But when an event turns to an incident, therefore that particular event now has a negative impact to the organization. So there is this saying that every incident is an event, but not all events are incidences. So detect. So detect, when we say detect, we are just trying to look at how do we make sure that we separate events from incidences, right? How do we make sure that we separate them appropriately? Making sure, understanding what, when we understanding when there is an alert, understanding how to monitor our assets, and also understanding how to grade different incidents that we have been able to detect. Then respond, you're extinguishing the fire, making sure that you are able to respond appropriately. So these are activities that you can that act in case of detected cybersecurity incidents. We are no longer talking about events. We are now talking about detected cybersecurity incidents. So this will help nurture the people who do whatever stakeholders to be able to have the appropriate skill or the appropriate technology to be able to quench whatever fire the incident has brought with it. Then recover. Cover is business as usual, making sure that you are back to normal operation after everything has happened, making sure that you restore your systems. If the ones that you need to reload the softwares, you reload the softwares. The ones that you need to bring back online, you bring back online in an appropriate manner. So just going to skip that. Then we'll go to um implementation tiers. So we said implementation tiers is just level of sophistication, right? So we have majorly four tiers in NIST cybersecurity framework. We have four tiers, but when you relate it to other risk management, it can expand. So our first tier would be partial. This is where the organization runs an ad hoc approach. So they are very reactive. They wait for something to happen before they start looking for how to researching how to like go after what just happened. Then tier two is risk informed. They have an intermediate level of awareness. Okay, they know that okay, I'm not supposed to like click on a phishing email. I'm not supposed to like maybe my turn off my real-time virus protector just because of I want to install a cracked application. So that is risk informed, but there is no consistency. There is no policy that states that, right? Everybody knows, it's just head knowledge, but there is no policy that states that. Then repeatable is when the practices are formalized. So there is something like a policy or a procedure. The organization have a clear understanding of what to do and how to coordinate response. Then adaptive is now when they understand what to do, how to coordinate response, there is a policy, and there is a feedback process where you learn from what just happened and implement it in an agile format. So that's just the difference between tier 3 and tier 4. So I just explained those. So because of our time, let's go into the next tenet, which is what? Profile. So profile, just as I said, is gap assessment. So you align, it's just aligning the functions, the categories, the subcategories with your business requirements, right? With your risk tolerance and with the resources of your organization. So you have where you are and you have the functions that you are supposed to meet up with. So if you are able to compare where you are to where you are going to go to, you now develop what we call an action plan. An action plan will now should be sufficient enough to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to go. So basically, how do we create and use profiles? Very easy. You can define the use case of why you are implementing and using your profiles, right? Okay, if it's in your process, if it's in your identity process, you know that you need to be able to identify everybody that clocked in into a particular system, and not just identify them, make sure that that particular system is aware of their authorization. So everybody knows where things that they can access and things that they cannot access. So you define your use case, you gather information about, so gathering information now comes down to what are their permissions, who can change, who is the person that is sufficient enough to change permissions and all of that. Then you create your current state. This is your current, maybe you don't even have an authentication system. That's your current state. Then your target state is that you want to have a sophisticated system that will be used for logging that clocks everybody that have logged in into that system. So that's the target state. So you analyze and you now create an action plan that will help you achieve that goal. Right. So in order to use this cybersecurity framework, we have to be able to prioritize and scope. You need to prioritize and scope. You need to know where you need to know where you are. You need to know where you are, uh, where that part, where which part of your process is lacking. Then you are able to take stock, like make sure that you have your approaches in place. Then you create your current profile, which is where you are. Then after that, you do a risk assessment. do a risk assessment. Okay, with this current state, what am I vulnerable to? Then you create a target profile. Create a target profile. You then determine, analyze, and you prioritize the gaps. You know that not all gaps are equal. When we say gaps, we mean like things that are not working quite well, right? So there are gaps that can be very critical. There are gaps that can be not so critical. Then you implement your action plan. Right. So let's go to the last session, which is the principles and the concepts. So we've talked about what cyberspace is. We've talked about, now let's look at what other principles are. So cyberspace, we said that cyberspace is a virtual environment, right? It does not exist in physical form. So it's where communication happens and all of that. So that's the cyberspace. Then we now have things that obviously would work in cyberspace, which would be the cyberspace application services. So these application services are provided over cyberspace. So you want to buy, you want to order food now, you go to sorry, not Jumia Foods now. You go to either Glovo or what's the other one? Yeah, the other one, I don't know the name. So those are platforms that provide services to you over the internet. So whenever we hear cyberspace, we should just oppose it with internet. So it's basically it's basically just the same. Right. So now we have, cyberspace brings everything together. It brings the software, which is the food ordering platform. It helps the ISPs, that's the internet service provider, to be able to provide internet to you. So most of us are connected to either one LAN, or connected on our phones, or using either fiber one or MTN or Glo or whatever to connect. And we have ICT devices, your phone, your laptops, your watch. Okay, your watch will now fall into Internet of Things. So wearable stuff, your watch, your dishwasher that is on the internet, your smart home, and all of that. Then the people, you and I, that initiate the conversation. Although these people in coming years is going to be debatable. But yeah, for now, people, you and I, that initiate conversations. Then we have cybercrime. So cybercrime is basically anything or anything that will cause harm to somebody over the internet, right? So if somebody is perpetuating anything that would cause you harm, either by the means of cyberbullying or extortion or malware deployment or listening on your network or target or spear phishing or whatever, it is classified under cybercrime, because of the end point of cybercrime is to steal, or sensitive information, or to defame, or just to make a mess of somebody. That's basically the same way you have regular crime. Someone will meet you at Oshodi and slap you and collect your phone. That's regular crime. Someone now would on the internet, someone would type up a mail and send to you and say they are from your organization, you should send money. That's cybercrime. As long as it happens over the internet, it's cybercrime. And cybersecurity, we've talked about that, which is just collection of activities, tools, practices to make sure that you are safe online. And information security is now the broader aspect of it, right? Information security goes beyond cybersecurity. So when we say cybersecurity, mind you, we are protecting our digital assets. We are protecting our digital assets. When we say information security, we are looking at both the assets that are online, that's digital ones, and the assets that are offline, that's the fiat information, like your paper information, your files, your whatever, right? Whatever that have information that needs to be confidential, that needs to have integrity, and that needs to be available for you to be able to carry out one process or the other. All of this thing needs to be secured. That's where information security comes into play, which would look at 27001. So that's where the entire thing is engulfed in. So cybersecurity is just a part of information security. So, confidentiality, integrity, availability, we've talked about that. Confidentiality is making sure that the right people have the right access to the right information, right? So, if you do not have, as if you do not have the right access and you are not the right person, you are not supposed to have access to such information. That's just confidentiality. Then integrity is making sure that whatever information that is being sent, whether in storage, whether in transit, whether in use, is not modified. So the authenticity of that particular information is kept at static. The availability is just making sure that the information that is needed for a particular process to be done is appropriately available for that particular job to be done. So these are what we call the triad of cybersecurity. So you can hear, maybe you just join the cybersecurity call and you hear the CIA. So it's not Central Information Agency. The CIA, we are talking about the confidential, integrity, and availability. Then we'll go to vulnerability and threat, which I've already explained again. So we say vulnerability is weakness. So if somebody is going through not so nice area and you have money sticking out of your pocket, you are vulnerable, right? Because someone that is bigger than you can slap you and collect the money. Sorry, no violence intended. Just That's just a picture of vulnerability. Then threat is anything that that can exploit vulnerability. So that slap can be a threat. Then you losing that particular money is now the risk, right? So threat is anything that has potential to harm an asset, such as information processes or system. So threats can go from technical to people to natural, right? So we can have natural threats like, fire outbreak is a natural threat. So flood is a natural threat. When we say people, we mean like insider threat is a people threat, right? Insider threat is a people threat. Being in a civil unrest, right? People are throwing stones, that's a people threat. Then technical threats, when there is a DDoS attack. So your system being compromised as a bot is a threat. Your phishing link is a threat, and all of that. So, risk, we now have different types of risk. We have, first kind of risk we have is what we call an inherent risk, right? That's the first kind of risk we have, an inherent risk. When we say something is an inherent risk, that means it's a risk before any form of security solution is applied to it. That's an inherent risk. Then, after security solution or treatment is applied to that risk, the risk that remain is now what we call a residual risk. Let's take a look at it in the real life setting. Let's say you are driving, you will start your car, you want to move, you notice that your uh your your car was probably something, your car is not, the tire is shaking, right? So no solution has been applied to it, so the entire thing has an inherent risk, right? So you now go to a vulcanizer, you either pump the tire, you align the tire, whatever it is that you've done, you've applied solution to it, right? So there could still be risks remaining. You can still drive over a nail and your tire can just boom, burst, or any of those things. So that is now the residual risk. So there's nothing that is 100% safe. Life is not even 100% safe. So, we will now have inherent and residual. So let's understand the difference. So then we have risk acceptance. This is the kind of risk that you can accept. You are walking down the road, 1,000 naira falls out of your pocket. You didn't know. You go somewhere. I'm missing 1,000. Yeah, fine. I can accept that as long as it's not your only transport. That's risk acceptance, right? So you're able to say, okay, this particular thing, I can manage it. I can manage it. Then before you are able to say, I can manage this thing, you would have done a risk analysis to comprehend the nature of risk. There are risks that you cannot manage. There are risks that are within your purview to manage. There are risks that that you need to be able to transfer to somebody else to manage. So you do your analysis, then you assess, right? So assessment is more like a mother body that includes analysis and evaluation. You need to like put numbers to this analysis in order for you to know the actual monetary value of you losing anything. So we have different types of security controls. So we've talked about, if a security control is applied to something, it makes it a little bit better. So what are these security controls? We have different types of security controls. We have security control a security control can be technical. So this is where we deploy technology, your firewall, your IPSs, artificial solutions, DLPs, to make sure that things are not moved out of your system or things are not being deleted. Having all of those technologies come under technical control. Then we have legal control. This is where we apply the regulatory requirements of what we need to apply. So there are industry standards that we need to apply: PCI DSS 27001.
Hello, sir. Are you with us? Hello, sorry about that. I think his network just glitched, so let's give him a few minutes while he reconnects his audio.
Hello, am I audible?
Oh, can you hear me?
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible now.
So sorry. So sorry. MTN did what they are known for. So sorry about that. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, it is visible.
All right.
Just for
Okay.
consideration, we should just try to do a little bit of wrap up because we'll be going on break soon.
Yeah, we're almost done. I think in next two slides will be done. Yeah,
All right, thank you.
next two slides
Can
will be done.
proceed.
Right. So let me go back to legal controls. Of course, I don't know, probably it was there that my network became shaky. So these are kind of regulatory requirements that we need to like apply in order to make our journey or our processes better. I mentioned PCI DSS, for privacy, NDPA, and all of that. Then administrative control is now when we look at job rotation. That's making sure no one person has a particular job for a very long time, making sure that job descriptions are detailed appropriately so everybody know what they are supposed to do. So that's an administrative control. Then managerial control is being able to manage trainings of and manage employees. So where you train your employees, you do management review to find out what is working and what is not working. You do internal audits to make sure that you you are applying things that you are supposed to apply. Then lastly, we now have another segregation, another category of security control, which we categorize into preventive, detective, and corrective. Mind you, a control can both be technical and preventive. A control can still be managerial and corrective, right? So a control can be administrative and corrective, like discipline a staff will be administrative and corrective. So um, preventive is where
Hello, sir. Can you hear me? If anyone can hear me, kindly put comments in the chat box so I can know you can still hear me loud and clear. Okay, that means his network is still glitchy. Okay, let's.
all right, I think that was a mistake. Then we have corrective. So corrective is able to solve
Hello, Mr. Evers, can you hear me? I think the network finally took him out. Okay, I would use this medium to let us go on a break. The material will be sent to everyone on Monday and the recorded video also. But let's just go on a break, stretch your legs, and kindly make sure that if you have any issues on your test or assessment that you have not done, you can send me a message. I'm just a message away. I'm ready to help you with everything you need. So let's go on a break for 30 minutes. The class will be resuming back 12 o'clock exactly. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.